Good morning. What was that again? Good morning. Okay. His phone's talking to me. Y'all bow with me. Good morning, Lord. It's us again. Thank you for 40. Let us get through this day without too much bodily harm to one another. I won't ask that for those across the hall. Lead us and direct us. Let us do good stuff. Let us remember that nothing we do here today matters in the overall scheme of things. It's how we serve you and what we do. Keep your hand on us. Let us get through this day. I ask these things in the name of the Prince of Life. Amen. Okay. Other than Mr. Tanner, who has probably new stuff, I don't know why the rest of you are here, but I'm going to give you the opportunity. Mr. Tanner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The one I'm asking for, I don't think it's on the blue sheet. It passed out of the Education Committee yesterday. It's House Resolution 686. It would form a 3-person House study committee to look at disparities in funding for education across the state, following up on the Governor's Education Reform Commission recommendations and looking at equitable education funding in K-12 education across the state. Be glad to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
What number was that, Mr. Tanner?
It was HR 686. HR 686.
It's not on your sheet. Came out yesterday, but we're going to put her on here sometime today. It came out late. It is? It made it? Okay. Any questions, Mr. Tanner? No questions.
Thank you.
Ms. Rakestraw.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I am here to request HR 627. It's a mental health study committee for mental health and addiction to look at it in a different way and look at drivers of addiction and alternative treatments to drug therapy and some other modalities that have been shown to be effective in addiction treatment. So, thank you.
No questions. Thank you. Ms. Price.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I just ask once again for House Resolution 464. I've asked for it a number of times, so I won't belabor it, but I'm still here. We still need it, and I'd love to get going on that. Thank you.
No questions. Thank you. Mr. Bodie.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of this committee. My resolution, House Resolution 4467 from the top, I want to create a House study committee to examine heat stroke injuries, heart injuries, and spinal injuries in youth athletics and high school sports. I ask for your favorable consideration today, sir.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring goodwill from the Senate. I'd like to draw your attention to the modified open rule. Senate Bill 50 is the Direct Primary Care Act, and it puts into our code that this agreement is not to be counted as insurance. And Mr. Chairman, if I may, I wanted to also talk to you about Senate Bill 170 and point out that there were a lot of study, boots on the ground, ministries in our state and volunteers that as they there's a really big need and a desire to come around foster families and help them. And what they found, what I mean by boots on the ground, is we've got a lot of volunteers that want to do this, but our bureaucracy is preventing them from getting to our foster families. And so the work that we did in the Senate and now in the House, it should be no surprise to everyone in this room. We improved the bill in the House, and it's passed both committees unanimously, and I really would appreciate y'all's favorable consideration of the Georgia Serves Act, which is essentially establishing a commission to figure out how we can lower the barriers to entry and get these Georgians that want to help our foster kids and foster families around these families and help lift these kids up. So that's what we're trying to do there.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Elam.
Senator Fidelis, Mr. Chairman, committee members, House Resolution, it's 11 down on the first page. This is my third time, sir. It's just an urging resolution to ask our institutions of higher learning to adopt the American Council on Education that will give credit to our military personnel for training that they have received on active duty.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Fleming.
Mr. Chairman, is now the appropriate time for ask for a bill off the calendar?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the second page, under modified structure, is Senate Bill 87. Senate Bill 87. That's a bill that deals with clarifying some bankruptcy law in Georgia. Chairman Jay Powell had a amendment to that, a substitute actually, that the author agreed with, and this committee has already adopted Jay Powell's substitute to Senate Bill 87. Mr. Chairman, on your desk is an amendment to Senate Bill 87 as it currently is before this committee, AM 29 to 2649. That's an amendment signed by Jay Powell, myself, and Earl Earhart. All that amendment is Senate Bill 71 that Mr. Earhart used as a vehicle for something else. It also deals with a bankruptcy issue in medical savings accounts. That amendment simply puts Senate Bill 71 back into Senate Bill 87, and then should the chair allow, I'd ask for the committee to consider that amendment and bring it to the floor.
Anybody got questions, Mr. Fleming? Okay, you've heard his amendment. I'll take that as motion to hear a second. All those in favor of the amendment signify by aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Coomer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm asking for Senate Bill 95, the selection of jurors for the grand jury list.
Mr. Earhart.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. There's an amendment to Senate Bill 191 that is on the desk. Is it appropriate time to ask for that, sir?
Yes.
Senate Bill 191 has a substitute, LC 39-1700 ERS, on your desk, signed by you and I, and we've picked up a couple really good co-signers, Leader Abrams and my co-padre here, Representative Williams. Probably not doing a lot for his reputation, but this is a compromise with respect to the Gila legislation that we've been working through and the tidal pond. I think it's very consumer friendly, and I think we've come to a very, I mean, it retains some of the consumer protection pieces we had in some of the Gila amendments that have passed the House, and it's a compromise with respect to the pawnbrokers and the additional times needed. Plus, it has the location of where the applicants cannot be within 3 miles of the National Guard Armory or United States military base.
Okay. What you have on your desk, LC 39-1700 ERS, with two wonderful signatures on that substitute. four now, with Minority Leader, and then Flash. We'll get him. That's a motion. Do I hear a second? I say second. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Abrams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask favorable consideration under modified open rule of H.R. 446, H.R. 560, H.R. 561, and under modified structure, SB 99.
What was the last one?
SB 99, under modified structure.
Okay. Ms. Hughley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to bring your attention to H.R. 354, Ms. Kendrick's study committee. And also, we previously had Senate Bill 152, and I see HB 152 on here. It was a bill by Senator Jones having to do with education, and I'd like to ask us to consider that. And also SB 30 from Senator Ford.
Let me clean up 152. Oops. Mr. Smyrie.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to give some consideration to H.R. 354, H.R. 446, and Senate Bill 30.
Mr. Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll ask again for H.R. 642, the resolution supporting our DNR and our commissioner that was sent regarding the closure of cobia waters, the federal waters off the state of Georgia that's hurting our Georgia anglers.
Mr. A. Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask for Senate Bill 222, Local Government 911 Authorities Act, and there's an amendment that's on the desk.
That was Chairman Tankersley's amendment, and she's going to pull that amendment.
She's going to pull it?
Mr. Powell, J.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 216, the language from it was taken and put on another DeKalb County bill which passed out of the House on Tuesday, I guess, that was sponsored by Senator Fran Miller. And I've got a substitute to 216, which includes the language in Section 1. It's Jody Lott's HB 181, confidential tax information, which has passed this House. Section 2 has John Corbett's HB 93, which was the direct pay program which passed this House. There are two changes that I've put in there. One reduces the threshold for payment or for forfeiture of interest from 20 down to 15% over the actual tax amount. And Section 3 of the other one had the other change has the interest on the tax underpayment when it starts. And then Section 3 is Ron Stevens' HB 59 on historical preservation tax credits. There were several differences between the House version and the Senate version, and what we did on this version of HB 59 is to take the changes we actually have to make the program work, which is to clarify a date that is in the statute, to increase the credit from 25 to 30 million, which the Senate put in their version. Ours had 50 million. And then the third change is to clarify the definition of property ownership. And so with those three changes to existing law, it's a much different version than that was passed by either the House or the Senate, but it's also a lot easier to understand. So those are the three House bills that have passed out of the House but have gotten stuck in the Senate for some reason that I'd like to put into SB 216.
Any questions of Mr. Powell? No questions. All right, he's got the amendment there. That's a motion. Do I hear a second? All those in favor signify by aye. Any opposed? Okay. Ms. Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to put my name by, or I'd like to ask again for House Resolution 240, which is a study on barriers to care, and to put my name by Senate Bill 50, which just gives patients another choice of how they want to get their primary care. Thank you.
Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just asking for H.R. 608.
Which one was that?
H.R. 608. Modified open.
Ms. Ballinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to ask for Senate Bill 170 that came through juvenile justice. It's a good bill and will help facilitate our foster parents here in the state of Georgia finding care.
Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to put my name beside H.R. 608, a worthy crown for SB 216 and SB 222.
Anybody else? Yeah. Ms. Abrams.
Thank you. Just wanted to echo Whip Hughley and the request for SB 152, which had been inadvertently left off of the blue sheet.
Okay. Okay. This will be one of the calendars we have today. Starting at the bottom of page 1 under modified open, SB 152. Do I hear a move? Any opposition? It's on. Above it, SB 132 under modified open. Any opposition? It's on. Above it, SB 95. Any opposition? It's on. Go up a little bit, HR 634. Any opposition? It's on. HR 629. Any opposition? It's on. HR 561. It's on. Well, any opposition? It's on. HR 560. Any opposition? It's on. HR 482. Any opposition? It's on. HR 57 and modified open. Any opposition? It's on. HR 282. Any opposition? It's on. HR 284. Any opposition? HR 340. Any opposition? It's on. HR 686. It's on. On the back page, SB under structured, SB 222. Any opposition? It's on back page under modified structure, SB 216. Any opposition? Modified structure, HR 642. Any opposition? And under modified open at the top of the page, SB 191. Any opposition? That'll be a start. Whoa, 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 whoa. And I didn't do this one.
You didn't put it on the calendar?
This is 87. No, it's 87.
Right there, you didn't put it on the calendar.
Y'all sit back down. I messed up. Did I even talk about it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Mr. Powell, Mr. Fleming, did we do the amendment 29, 26, 49?
Yes,
yeah.
we did.
Okay. What's it on this? Okay. I want to put SB 87. Again, it's under modified structure. And then on the top of that page 191, I'm going to move it from modified open to modified structure. Anybody move on that? Okay. Bye. What?